Hey guys, it's me again, Eric here at Mountaintop 9, and this time I'm going to talk about the album Danzig 3, How the Gods Kill. Now, I bet there's a lot of people that have been looking forward to me talking about this album. Let's face it, this is going to be the first classic lineup Danzig album review that I've done. This will be the first time I've reviewed an album where it's Glenn Danzig, Chuck Biscuits, John Christ, and Eerie Von, and that's the best damn lineup that Danzig ever had. Let's face it, you can't deny it. My first memories of this album are back, in the early 90s. I mean, I had the How the Gods Kill shirt, alright? On the front it had that skull, and then it had the dagger sword thing coming down, and on the back it said How the Gods Kill in that really cool font that they used on the album, and I wore that shirt. I mean, I wore that shirt from the time I was in middle school all the way through high school and beyond, to the point where the shirt just faded, okay? And it's, when a black concert shirt would fade to the point where it would become not only like, it'd become almost a grayish green color, and it's bad when it gets to that point. And at that point I had already cut the sleeves off of it, and it had some holes and everything on it. And then when I'd go to Blockbuster to rent a movie or something, I'd have people looking at me. I mean, it would embarrass my girlfriend, because let's face it, when you're wearing a really ratty looking shirt, people think you're a bum. But I couldn't help it. I loved that damn shirt. I mean, let's face it, Danzig 3 is one of the best Danzig releases there is, okay? It's a high water mark in the Danzig catalog. So let's get started talking about the music on this release. First of all, it starts with Godless. And this song really tells you the direction that this album is headed in. It's headed in a direction. I really liked the sound on Lucifuge. On Lucifuge we really had this nice, robust, full, powerful sound. Danzig 1, the first album, here's the trajectory. Let's just kind of start with that. On the first album, you kind of had a flat sound. It's just very, very stripped down, very AC/DC-like, and there's just not this big oomph to the sound, not a big bass presence. But then when you put on Lucifuge right out of the gates on Long Way Back from Hell, you can tell that the sound is much more dynamic, and it's like a fist to your goddamn face. Well, what we get here from the start on Danzig 3 is an even darker sound, and it's very dense and rigid sounding. The riffs just sound very monolithic. And this is just a very doomy album. I mean, yeah, you had doomy stuff on Lucifuge like Pain in the World, but this album's just it's just a whole different animal. I mean, Danzig, first of all, he's just howling in a very impassioned way from the very start of this song. At the beginning where he's doing the whole godless feeling in me, that part's just that's the build-up. That's where everything is simmering. But once that riff kicks in, that driving, accelerated John Christ guitar riff, that's when the song really takes off. And I love the melody line and the impassioned way that Danzig delivers lines like, "You gave me all of this and more, that's for sure. I can't believe in all your pain." Just the way he's putting those words out there, that really just gets you going. That adrenalizes you. You want to go along for the ride. But then we get to the nice, really soulful way that Danzig croons out those lines. "I couldn't love it anymore, had to listen to my heart." That whole section in there, man, this song just from top to bottom, musically, lyrically, and vocally, it's one of the best Danzig songs, and it's a perfect track to kick off this album. So yeah, Godless is definitely a keeper, and everyone knows that. This is the type of song that should have stayed in Danzig's set list off and on for years. This is one that he should still throw in there. I mean, I don't know if this one might be a taxing song to sing live nowadays. I'm not really sure. But now, track 2. We've got Anything, and this one may be, if I had to pick just one favorite off the album, it would probably be Anything. It's just a very powerful, Once again, I'm going to use this word, soulful song, very heartfelt. That clean guitar there at the beginning, man, just the way the atmosphere just starts to brim around it, and then Danzig does those first lines and in such a way that just really pulls you in when he says, anything you want, anything the world has to offer, I can give you. And he's doing it in this very seductive manner. And then the song just kicks in, man. When it gets heavy and the guitar, when the distortion kicks into it and the drums come in, you got Chuck Biscuits back there and Eerie Von. When the whole band comes crashing in, this song really locks into a nice groove and you really start to cruise down the street with this one. And probably my favorite guitar solo that John Christ ever did is in this song. I think it's his best. I really do. It's just such a soul-crushing guitar solo, just full of power. It goes along with those words that come right before when Danzig just keeps saying, anything you want, it's in my arms. Anything you need, it's in my arm. And then when it just comes crashing in, it just transcends everything. It takes you to a different level. I mean, this is dynamite stuff on this album already. You thought Godless was a good song? Well, anything tops it. Okay? Anything is Godless times 10. And the words to it, I mean, they make you think. You can look at it in two ways. You could look at it like Danzig's coming at it from just a human level. Just kind of full of bravado, saying, anything you want, it's in my arms, I can give you. You could look at it that way, like a guy boasting. But you could also look at it like he's singing from the perspective of some kind of powerful deity, or like he's singing from the point of view of Lucifer. For instance, like in the Black Sabbath song, N.I.B., where it's about the devil falling in love with a human woman, you know, some shit like that. Well, you could look at this song, anything, the same way. You know, when he's saying stuff like, all this world and its glory and its sin, I can give it all to you. I mean, you could take that as some kind of evil type figure, you know, beckoning someone, seducing them with all of this, all of these grand proclamations, but he has darker intentions. You could look at it that way too. And this is one that I've seen a live video of where Danzig performed it back in 1992, and I love just the way he does those words at the end in the live setting, because his voice basically breaks and he goes into this higher pitch that you seldom hear from him. It's not really a tone that you hear Danzig hit very often. So I urge you to try to check that out if you can. Try to find a live video of Danzig singing this song, because it's really interesting hearing him do that line, in my loving arms, and you know, he keeps going in my arms and just letting that voice just shred. It's no wonder that Danzig, you know, at some point later down the road started developing this, you know, very smoky and hoarse sound to his throat. Well, he was really singing his balls off on tracks like this. That's why he was delivering the goods when it counted. So yeah, Anything is a standout track on this album. Now, Bodies is up next, and I gotta tell you, this has never been a favorite of mine. I'm not a fan of this song. Sorry, I'm not. It's pretty cool how you can hear Eerie Von delivering a nice thumping bass line, and I think the music video's pretty funny. You know, it's got them there in like a rehearsal room, and you've got these girls running about and everything, so it's kind of an interesting little video clip. But I've never cared for this song, and I don't really like the vocal delivery from Glenn on this song, okay? I just don't. It's kind of silly, alright? I think the words are kind of silly, and I just don't like it that much. I never have. Now, is it a boring track? No, it's not boring. I can sit and listen to this song, but I don't get anything out of it. It's definitely not the gift that keeps on giving, so. I mean, the words themselves, when Glenn is saying stuff like doggone soul, are you fucking kidding me, doggone? It's just, the words are just dumb. So, yeah, Bodies, let's move along. The next track is How the Gods Kill, and it is a classic on this album. It's easy to see why. It's the title track. We have some great theatrics going on in this song. Just musically, you can just picture fantastic images in your brain when you hear just that moody opening. This album just has such a dark, gothic type flavor. Glenn is just softly singing those opening lines. If you feel a light in a darkened room, just the way that comes out. Do you know the name of your solitude? This is a very lonely type of song. You get the idea that it's just someone brooding alone, just taking inventory of their life. That's just the kind of idea I've always gotten from this song. It's just someone trying to transcend their place in the world, trying to let things go and I guess become a more powerful being. I mean, you can look at it that way. I've also thought at different times maybe he's talking about someone letting go of their life and committing suicide, because there's a part in this song where he says, look inside your empty soul, there you'll find the noose. So I mean, this song seems a little bit open to interpretation for me, and I think that's cool. I like being able to look at a set of lyrics, listen to a song, and kind of decide for myself what it's about. Rather than it being strictly a black and white type thing, there's gray area. This is an ambiguous song in my opinion. And man, it's kind of like anything in the sense that you have the soft thing going on, but then it comes in and it gets heavy. Alright, it gets heavy and loud, so you got good dynamics on this song. You've got great singing. I mean, the way Glenn is doing that light, wilting type of croon, that really cool tone. Right before he says stuff like, would you let it go? Those notes that he's doing right before that. It's just such a, I don't want to use the word sultry because you would tend to apply that more towards if Jessica Rabbit was fucking singing or something. But I mean, I don't know how to describe this tone that he's using. It's just a very passionate, I guess is the best word. It's just very passionate. And man, he delivers the goods vocally on here. This song has a really cool music video. Got lots of wind effects and it's shot in a very dark atmosphere. And you got the H.R. Giger designs going on. The only thing I don't like is when the girl lets all the spit come out down her chin, alright? I don't understand the whole spit thing. I would have rather her have blood come out her mouth. In the music video, when you see all that spit come out, I think it would have been cooler if it would have been blood. I don't know. I just think that would have gussied up the video a little bit. But yeah, man, How the Gods Kill is a classic. And a funny thing about this song is I've seen Danzig perform it a few times. And one time, though, back in 2007, I believe it was, he fell off stage, okay, while he was performing this song, and he injured his arm. And then when I saw him, the date that I saw him was either the next night or a couple nights later, and he performed the whole show with his arm in a sling. And so that always sticks out in my brain that, I mean, how many people have been to a Danzig show where they saw Glenn perform the entire set with his arm in a sling? I think that says a lot about his work ethic. The fact that he suffered an injury like that and still finished the rest of his set that night, but then he didn't cancel any shows upcoming. He still did, the rest of the tour, even though he had to do some of the shows with his arm in a damn sling. So I think that, people should respect that. The fact that he, would take a fall like that, but still, hey, he doesn't cancel any shows. I mean, you've got people like Ozzy who will just up and cancel a show at the last minute because he had a slight sore throat or something. But, Danzig still shows up and gets the job done, so that always sticks out in my mind. But yeah, How the Gods Kill, classic song. Now the next track is one that always works well in the live environment, and that's Dirty Black Summer. This song, man, I'm getting tired of saying this over and over again. I've already said it about Godless, I've said it about anything, and I've said it about How the Gods Kill. But once again, with Dirty Black Summer, we're talking about a stone cold classic. The riff is catchy. The intro riff, that is. Then, when it goes into that verse riff, it's just so heavy and punishing, and it's got a groove to it. Man, I've heard this song so many times live, and it's one of those songs that just makes you want to move. It is impossible to stay totally stationary, alright, during this song, because this song gets inside you and makes you want to move. And then the lyrics, they're just so good, and he's dishing it out in that that quintessential Danzig style, you know, from the opening lines, no summer in the winter time will keep you warm like a funeral pyre. The words, they don't get any more just image inducing. That causes your brain to fucking go into overdrive when you hear those words. And then Danzig, of course, he's delivering them in that cool fashion. This isn't like a Slayer song or anything like that. Danzig is putting out really dark, ominous words, but he's doing it in a catchy way, in a way that kind of brings everybody into the fold. I mean, you could play a song like this to a person who's not necessarily into metal, but they still might appreciate something about it. And then the chorus really brings it home. We get another nice solo in here from John Christ, and that's one thing I want to talk about right now and get out of the way. I want to mention, remember how earlier I said on Anything that was one of the best guitar solos that John Christ ever did on a Danzig track? Well, as far as I'm concerned, that's not John's fault that he didn't get to do more really, you know, ear-catching and highly memorable solos. Glenn would hold John Christ back in that sense, and it's well documented in interviews that John Christ would want to do like elaborate, you know, really showy guitar solos and shit like that, but, you know, Glenn coming from that punk background, he didn't like that. You know, a solo that someone like me or someone that's more into lots of different types of metal might look at a John Christ solo and say, yeah, that's a great fucking metal solo, whereas Danzig, coming from the punk background, would look at a guitar solo in a lot of cases and probably think, it's too hair metal, or it's too this or that, you know. He would look at something like that in a very judgmental and dismissive way. He just wanted things rough in a lot of cases. He didn't want a lot of showy guitar solos or anything of that sort. So when John Christ would get to play a guitar solo, they usually were brief solos, to the point, and they get in and they get out. Now, would have I liked to have heard John Christ do more elaborate guitar soloing on certain songs? Sure, you bet I would have, because he's a goddamn good guitar player. So it's a shame that he didn't get to stretch out a little bit more. I wish he would have. I wish that Danzig didn't have that view at the time where he would just want them to be so brief all the time. I mean, yeah, for some songs that's fine, but for other songs I think it would have been cool if John Christ would have got to spread his wings a little bit more and just really rock out on the guitar solos. And before I stop talking about Dirty Black Summer, I want to add that even though I know the words to this song by heart, for some reason whenever I hear them in my head, I always hear Danzig say this at the beginning when I think about it in my head. I always think in my head that he's saying, no summer in the winter time will keep you warm like a fruit roll pie. I don't know why. I think someone said that to me a long time ago. Will keep you warm like a fruit roll pie. So I always think of those words, even though I know those aren't the fucking words. But anyway, Dirty Black Summer, it's a good one, you can't miss it. What Danzig fan doesn't know that? Now, next up on this album is Left Hand Black. And this one from the very start, this is an aggressive, heavy rock song. It's dark, it's got all that classic dark Glenn Danzig imagery going on in the lyrics. He's singing stuff like kinda like a dog with 7 pupils in its eye, kinda like a madness that refuses to subside. You know, that really just kinda drags you into the dark clutches of this mysterious, morbid world that he's conjuring up. And then the chorus, he becomes like this superhuman. You know how Danzig loves to do this stuff where he's just building this kind of image of strength. When he's saying, I'm gonna stand at the top of the world and challenge the heavens, gonna bring you God, you know, that just really rams it home. So Left Hand Black, it's just one of those songs where you want to put this one on, you want a nice sledgehammer to the head, you want a nice kick in the ass. This is a good song to start with, okay? You wouldn't put on a song like Anything or How the Gods Kill if you were wanting to get a nice heavy dose of adrenaline. You'd put on a song like Left Hand Black. So it's a good one. Now after that track is one of my favorites on the album. I'll tell you what, it really gives Anything a good challenge. Hell, it might be tied with Anything as my favorite track on the album, and that song is Heart of the Devil. Now, the funny thing about this song is this is the type of track where at the beginning you know how you've got Danzig's voice just ringing out by itself. There's no music going on around it. It's just him a cappella saying, I am Heart of the Devil, you know, and he does that a couple times, and he's really stretching out his vocal range and trying some different stuff here. And but the funny thing is this is the kind of thing that to the uninitiated, they may find it comical. They may think it's funny and cheesy, and I can kind of see that. It is in a way. But after that, when that riff kicks in, that simple, primitive, evil riff, and it's just driving along, and Danzig comes in after that to the music, and those words, let me tell you, they are some of the best damn words that Danzig ever put pen to paper and wrote. When he's saying, I can make a man freeze in his tracks, I can make a man fall to his death, I can make a girl so eager to please, I can make a young girl lay down for me because I'm evil and love is gone. It doesn't get any better than that on this fucking album when he says those words. They're just right in your face. I mean, this guy, I mean, some people, I mean, might even think that that's comical and over the top. But the way it's delivered, the way it's put forward with the music, it's so convincing. I mean, this really sounds like it's coming from someone who's telling the truth. So, I mean, this is a fucking hell of a performance right here. So as this song goes along, that dark atmosphere just reaches unparalleled heights. And then when we get to another tasty John Christ guitar solo, it just, oh man, nothing is better than this song, except for maybe Anything, and I don't even know if that track is better than this one. And Danzig's voice over the course of this song, he just reaches newfound heights of anger too when he says lines like, I can make your heart stop and start again. The way he does that, it's just so forceful. It's like you're running straight headlong into a brick wall. That's what it feels like. So it's just another very dense, heavy, and ultra doomy song. And as it comes to that pulverizing end section where Glenn is screaming out with all the passion in the world when he's saying, my love is gone, you can't help but believe him. That's how convincing this song is. And Heart of the Devil is a classic of the highest order. Now, we get to another brilliant song, and it's called Sistinas. Now, we were just in the utmost evil of areas, a song like Heart of the Devil, where that was about one man's, or maybe someone who's, you know, more than a man, I don't even know, because he's talking about making a sky thunder and shake, and everything's black in his wake, you know, and all these real powerful type stuff. But of course, I think that's all hyperbole. But regardless, we go from that song where someone's looking at things in a very, very twisted manner, and then we go headlong into Sistinas, which is this very emotional ballad. And it's all about, Danzig has said in interviews, this song's about loneliness and isolation. And man, you get that sense in the song. It's simple and direct, and it has some more beautiful vocals. This is back when Danzig could sing in so many different ways. He could do that really angry, powerful, barking style of singing, but he could also do some nice, emotional crooning and just these, just really soulful stuff. And that chorus section where everything just rushes forth like an erupting volcano and all that emotion just spills over. And he's saying, and the sun don't shine, the wind won't blow when you go hide, and without your love, I'm lonely deep inside. That whole part, man. Just brilliant lyrics. And I really like how he goes, you know, from soft to heavy with his vocals in this track. Like later in the song, when he's doing that refrain again, when he's repeating that one part from earlier in the song, when he's going, take my hand, you'll never find another quite like mine. And then when he goes, and if you did, he gets that really bassy, powerful sound in his voice. And just really stretches and shows out his vocal range on this song, especially there at the end, at that last part of the verse and then doing that last chorus. He's really just showing off more of that great range that he had. So Sistinas, great tune, and it had a cool music video. I like the music video to this one, just really cool stuff. Now the next track, Do You Wear the Mark? This is one that, it's kind of like I would lump it in with songs like Dirty Black Summer and Left Hand Black. It's an energetic song, you know, it's not super fast or anything, but it's a hard rockin' tune. And it has some classic lyrics in it, you know, right at the very beginning when Glenn is saying, devil on the left and angel on the right, there's no mistake who I'll be with tonight. And he always changes that in live setting. He always says, there's no mistake who I will fuck tonight. Why didn't he just do that on the album? I don't know. You tell me. This isn't one of my favorites, though. This song, for me, it just always has felt like it goes on a little bit too long for my liking. It just drags on a little bit too much. I'm not a big fan of that part of the song where Glenn is saying, do you wear the mark? Darling, do you wear the mark? You know, that whole part, I don't like it. It doesn't do anything for me. I think it's kind of cheesy and it's just kind of boring. So that's the paradox of this song as far as I'm concerned, as far as how I see it. I do like that riffing there at the beginning. I like the vocal lines at the beginning as far as those words are just classic. But as the song goes on, it just kind of wears out its welcome. And I've seen Glenn do this in concert a few times, and it's just, I don't really think it's the highlight of the show. I mean, I know that he also does How the Gods Kill a lot, but I mean, if rather than Do You Wear the Mark, I'd rather see Danzig do a song like Anything, alright? Or Heart of the Devil. Do something like that. You don't really need to do You Wear the Mark. But the album more than makes up for this song kind of outstaying its welcome, because we're at the last track, which is called When the Dying Calls. And I've always liked this one. We've got some nice, heavy riffing. There's some cool, swampy atmosphere in this one. I mean, how can you not like that part of the song where Danzig is saying, down, 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 I'm gonna bring you down. That's when the dying calls. That's catchy. And then he goes into that chorus and he really lays it all on the line when he's saying, if I play in the dark of the world and if I lose, I don't mind. Man, that is tough as nails shit right there. It's just more strength-inducing stuff. This is the type of track that you put on, like Left Hand Black, stuff like that. It just kind of boosts you up, alright? It makes you feel better listening to a track like this. So, When the Dying Calls ends the album on an awesome, awesome note. So, guys, I'll tell you what, How the Gods Kill, if I was ranking my favorite Danzig albums, this would definitely be right near the top. I would probably put 4 in the #1 slot, but I think in the #2 slot, it's tough. It would either be Danzig 3 or Danzig 2. I'm not sure which one. I think it would depend on what time of day or time of year you catch me. I might have Lucifuge in that #2 slot one day, but I might have How the Gods Kill there another day, because this album is just dynamite. And I know this review might have seemed a little bit redundant because I was just praising nearly every track. I mean, let's face it. The only song that I really don't have any time for on this album is Bodies. That song I've never considered a good track. I think that song's a mistake. If it would have been up to me, say I was helping produce this album or some, you know, bullshit like that, I mean, like I would have ever been able to help produce an album of such majestic nature. But let's just pretend. I would have said to Glenn, I would have said, hey, you should keep that Body song off of there. Put a different song in its place. That's just me. So I'm not a fan of Bodies, and I do think that Do You Wear the Mark drags on a little bit too long, kind of outstays its welcome. But other than that, everything on this album is superb. So you just can't go wrong with it. And look, this review will probably be posted here sometime in September. We're almost to Halloween time. This is the perfect time of year to put on this album. It really is. Whenever I think of the album How the Gods Kill, I always think of fall. I always think of Halloween. So if you're watching this review right now, do yourself a favor. When this video ends, go and put on How the Gods Kill. Put on Godless and crank it up loud. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know what your favorite tracks are on the album, and I'll be seeing you again next time.